so welcome. I actually don't know what episode number we are, so I'll have to have Steph fill that in. Whether we're episode 60-something or...
I think we're early 60-something.
So we're episode early 60-something for Flying for Flavor. And today it's just Deke and I. We're here to play while the boss lady is traveling.
Yep.
And so...
West Coast.
West Coast. She's actually hit on a plane now. Yeah, she's in the air. So technically we could message her right now and say, look, we're in the studio. We're causing trouble. Over. And that's it. The troublemakers take over today. So today we are talking cocktails. Mm-hmm. And Deke got all excited because I brought in all of these ingredients for cocktails, and he's like, "Oh, I love the industrial look of those. Look at this. We've got all the cables and stuff. Look, it's very organized here. We're very professional." So today we've got, because we're talking cocktails and it's fall and it's cold out, we thought we would try a. Oh, look at you! We thought we would try a fall themed cocktail. What's that? You gotta bring for the back. See there? If you look in the camera.
I'm looking.
There's a screenshot right there of Deke with his smile as he's lining up the ingredients. So I looked this one up today because I was looking for something. I've had this Spice Box pumpkin spice whiskey for 2 years.
I've had it. It's amazing.
Is it good? We're going to find out today. It smells good.
Awesome.
Oh, it smells really good. I'm just going to go straight from the bottle.
I'm going to have to.
Okay, so when you're doing Prosecco, a Prosecco-based cocktail, you always want to make sure that you pour your added item in before your Prosecco, because if you've got Prosecco in your glass and you put something on top, it fizzes up very quickly. And that would fizz up all over our equipment, which would mean that we would never be allowed in here without Steph ever again. So we've got our Rufino Prosecco, which is one of my favorites for mixing. And in the bottom of our glass, we've got a little sugar cube just to sweeten things up a bit. So you do want a Prosecco that's a bit on a dry side. You don't want to just bring in like a sweet sparkling pink because it won't have the same effect at all.
No, it would be too sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's give that a go, and I'm going to move this over here. Ta-da! We cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's nice. It's got a little bit of a punch to it.
It's interesting.
But it's not as bad as the Chilean demi-sec that we had from the west side of Nicaragua or anything.
That interesting. It's
got a fall taste to it, actually, doesn't it? It's got that kind of wood burning camp.
It tastes like pumpkin spice Prosecco.
It does.
Basic tools in everybody's home bar kit. One is a sharp knife. I like to use a serrated knife because I find that it's better for fruit, but a lot of bartenders don't agree with me. So you use whatever knife makes you feel most comfortable. Just make sure it's sharp. Nothing will cut you harder than a dull knife. Secondly, you're going to have some shaker tins. I like to have a 20 or 24 ounce metal shaker tin and a 14 ounce shaker tin. The reason I go with metal on both sides is because if you're using ice at home, it tends to be ice that you have put into an ice cube tray. It tends to be very dense, very hard, very heavy. So if you're using a Boston shaker with a pint glass side of it, you are not necessarily likely, but far more likely to break that glass and send the drink flying into your eye along with the shattered glass, and you don't want that in your life. Having done that on several occasions, I can not recommend it. To pair with your shaker tin, we have what's called a Hawthorne strainer. A Hawthorne strainer is very cool. You'll notice that it has a spring side and like a colander side, and it fits right on top. To use it, you fit it in and close it so that the springs and the colander are both preventing ice and ice shards and any other organic matter from coming out into your drink. To keep it from getting any other itty-bitty ice shards or plant particulates, if you're shaking with mint or basil, I recommend getting a tea strainer, or what we call as a double strainer. I like the conical ones. I find that they work a little bit better, and you'll be straining on through that. If you're making a stirred drink, you'll want a stirring glass. There are some very, very beautiful ones available now. The Japanese make these. They are gorgeous. They are centerpieces. You can talk about them. You can put flowers in them. You can put all your tools in them, which is what I often end up doing. And a bar spoon. So you fill your glass with ice, and you stir as needed. When you strain with those, While you certainly can use your trusty Hawthorne strainer for that, there's also a strainer of the type called a julep strainer. Now, a julep strainer was not originally used for straining drinks out of a mixing glass. The julep strainer was originally designed to keep the mint and ice from smacking you in the face when you drank a mint julep in the hot Kentucky weather in, say, early May. Still a very, very useful bar tool. Not the most essential bar tool, but still a good one. A very, very essential bar tool is your good old citrus press. I've been in this industry long enough that when I met one of these for the first time, we called it a name that I'm not going to repeat on a podcast. I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later. Terribly racist, unfortunately, and not acceptable. So if you ever hear anybody referring to this as any kind of elbow, they are wrong. Citrus press. I like having a larger citrus press than a smaller citrus press. They'll tell you to make ones for limes, make ones for lemons, make ones for grapefruit. I say just buy the one for the grapefruit. The lemons and limes will fit into it. And as for bar tools, that is really the absolute basics of what you're going to need, aside from, of course, glasses, jiggers, measuring cups, friends.
Friends. That's an obvious one.
And the booze.
So anyways, we've got our cocktails ready. We're trying out this, what is it, neutral?
Yeah, neutral. It's vodka, soda, and lemon. I've actually had this before.
It looks good.
It's light and crispy.
Haha.
It's very summery, but it's fall, so...
It's going to pair well with our potato chips.
I didn't know about this at first, so I cracked this open. Well, first I cracked open a beer because I wanted a beer. Then I was told that we're going to be talking about this on the show, so I wanted to promote this. And then I find out that we're having this, which is what I kind of really wanted, to be honest about.
So that's all right. We said we'll just share all our drinks today. It was good. I'm glad we tried it. So this recipe, it was just an ounce of the Spice Box pumpkin spice whiskey and about 4 ounces of Prosecco. Any dry Prosecco will do. And the sugar cube on the bottom just helps kind of sweeten it up a little bit.
It's a nice effect too.
Yeah, it's pretty too, eh? So it's nice kind of a fun when it's cold outside and you're not really looking for something like a hot toddy, but you want something that's not too.
Yeah.
And I'm not a beer drinker, so I know a lot of people drink beer and stuff in the winter, and it's not my thing, so.
Yeah, no, this is very fall, and if you're celebrating anything, even for Thanksgiving, this would be great on the table.
Great Thanksgiving when people come over for, like us people are coming in.
I'll agree to that. I don't think I would drink it all the time because it's so pumpkin spice. That's exactly what it tastes like.
I am literally wearing my Uggs right now, and I had my pumpkin spice earlier. And so.
There you go. I had a pumpkin spice muffin today. I love pumpkin spice. I'm not speaking against it. It's just it's a seasonal drink, and if you're gonna enjoy it now.
Yep, I agree. So we're talking cocktails. I know Steph's going to join us a little bit later in the magic of editing with some lessons from Dan Draper at Dan Draper. I just called him Dan Draper.
Yeah. Well, that's his name, Dan Draper. Dan Cronin?
Dan Cronin.
Okay, right. He has.
We've been calling him Dan Draper forever, and it's been about 5 or 6 years. Yeah. So, Deke and I used to work with him back at the restaurant we worked together at, and so he's a cocktail extraordinaire. I can't wait to see what he puts together for us because he really, he really crafts them, and there's a lot of thought and a lot of education into what he does. So
there's entertainment in watching him work. He's got a full-on leather vest, bow tie.
With a bow tie.
Not leather vest, but like a butcher's apron type deal. No leather vest with a bow tie.
Sorry, Dan, you're out.
A leather butcher's apron, but like a craftsman. He's dressed like a craftsman, and he's a showman, and he's not on purpose though. It's just entertaining to watch him. I've never seen
It's like an artist.
Sour, whiskey sour, made with egg white before.
Oh no,
I've never seen that.
Good.
Yeah, so he's legit, genuine. He, as I said, he's a master crafter of behind the bar. He's incredible. I've seen his selection. He's invited me into his home a couple times. And did you as well?
I did, but it was less about crafting and more about how much we could drink that evening.
But you saw his bar though?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He makes his own.
He had a whole room dedicated to his bar.
Amazing. Yeah, it absolutely. It's like a library, but it's a bar.
Yeah.
And that's his home. So you can imagine the passion he has for his craft and how he applies that into a nightlife level. And I think we're incredibly blessed to have that in Sudbury. You know, it makes for an incredible, even a Thursday night out. If you're out with a couple workers, you're on a date, whatever the case, stop by the Alibi Room where Dan is. And it's entertaining. He just completes the vibe of the entire.
It's like the perfect setting for him. I was so glad to hear when he moved over there because what Kyle, the owner of the Alibi Room, wanted to create in his speakeasy feeling. Interesting. It used to be called the speakeasy, but that kind of a feeling of like the golden age of cocktails, really, and that attention to detail. That's exactly what Kyle was looking for. So I thought it was so cool to see those two people come together and create this really amazing space. So that's what Steph's going to kind of feature a little bit later on in the show. So when Deke and I realized that Steph wasn't going to be around, I thought, well, let's talk cocktails because we're going to talk about it a little bit later on anyways. So cocktails is my passion. I am nowhere near the craftsman and the scholar that Dan is, but I like to play with cocktails and like to try different flavors and that kind of thing. So the chance for me to A, come in and play and mess everything up for Steph for when she comes back, and B, get to talk about cocktails was kind of fun. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about when it comes to cocktails is this return to kind of the tradition that we're seeing in the industry. I mean, we have wonderful things like the pre-mixed ones that we can get, and there's some pros and cons to those that we'll talk about in a second. But there's this real return to, I mean, when we were coming of age a few years ago, a whiskey sour was lime bar mixed with a cheap bar shot of whiskey, and that was it, right? And as Deke alluded to, one of my favorite places to go in Ottawa is El Camino for tacos, and they do an incredible tequila and a whiskey sour with the egg white, because you're shaking it with the egg white. That's where you get the really foamy kind of top, and it's a whole different world. And we're starting to see now that a younger generation than our generation, like our millennials and hipster kind of crew, they're really appreciating that return to that kind of traditional old-fashioned, literally old-fashioned, and sazeracs and mint juleps and those kinds of things. So is that something that you've played with at all? Have you tasted a lot of them? Have you crafted them yourself? Or
crafted what exactly? Like
things like old-fashions and sazeracs and traditional whiskey sours.
My favorite drink's a Manhattan.
Oh, fantastic.
This is my favorite, and I believe in it being done right. And he will take a lighter to an orange peel, shake the orange peel over. He does it right, you know. That's the same way that I do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I believe in cocktails being done right. And I learned that while working with him back at the restaurant. You know, I spent time with him behind the bar and stuff, and I saw what he did, and now I know how to make myself a mean Manhattan.
Right. He actually taught me how to make a margarita, and I mean, I had been playing with them at that time, but I hadn't really developed the love and respect for tequila that I have now. And it was through learning about how to make a proper margarita with Dan. Like, so now if I'm in a restaurant, someone hands me a frozen ice-filled margarita that basically comes out of a slushy machine, I'm like, no, I can't drink this. This is just not going to work for me.
No,
but
it's
not. I'm not here to diss the simpler styles of these drinks, but it's really cool to see that you can take them to another level with higher quality ingredients and more attention to detail in how all those ingredients are prepped and the like.
Absolutely.
I didn't know what simple syrup was until I started playing with cocktails. And simple syrup, for anyone who's watching, if you've got a cocktail, if you're making something like a margarita or a mojito or anything that's got that kind of like a sour or a tart base, you add a little bit of simple syrup to it. And instead of getting, where if you order a drink at a bar and you get like the chunks of sugar in the bottom, by doing a cup of water and a cup of sugar over heat, bring it to a boil until it all kind of melts together, and then you've got simple syrup. You store that in the fridge. And I add that. That's basically, if I screw up a drink when I'm playing with cocktails, a little bit of simple syrup makes it all better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then you can expand on that kind of stuff with things like shrubs and berries and infusions and that kind of thing.
Bitters.
Oh, tell me about bitters. I don't use a lot of bitters.
You don't know much about bitters?
I don't know a lot about bitters. Let's talk about bitters and cocktails.
Okay, well, I don't know all that much about bitters, except
You're on
for
the
orange
spot
bitters,
now, Deke.
and I love putting them in Manhattan. Orange bitters, but Dan made his own bitters.
Yeah, of course he did.
Right, and like all these
Dan's
different
getting
flavors.
like the red carpet treatment here.
Yeah, well, and we gotta tag him in this and make sure that he's paying attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's well deserved, and it's I enjoy talking about him. You know, it's a pleasure that I absolutely know him, and I'm lucky that I got to work with the guy.
And learn so much.
Yeah.
So bitters. Bitters are, I know they're a flavor.
Yeah.
I've never actually tasted bitters on their own.
Picture like a Tabasco bottle.
Yeah, because I put bitters, I'll put a lime bitters in my gin and tonic.
Right. It's just that little hint of what a drink needs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you get that orange tint with it when you have Manhattans, and I'm big on that.
Yeah, we need to. I'll have to link in some stuff about bitters after the show, because now we talked about it. We don't really know 100% about it, but we're going to learn about it, and we're going to share with you. We should do
our own show on it. Yeah.
Our own show all on bitters.
Well, not all on bitters, but showcase it. Yeah. Let's research it and do it.
Yeah, we'll bring some more to you back on bitters.
For the purposes of our drinks tonight, we're going to be going over 4 basic spirits. We're going to go with a vodka, a rum, a gin, and a whiskey drink. And because we're in Canada, we're going to go with a rye whiskey, because it's just the right thing to do. It's just the right thing to do.
It's a Canadian thing to do.
Absolutely. And I'm saying that as an American. Sorry. Now, tonight we're going to be pouring... Yeah. We'll be pouring Absolute Vodka. The Havana Club 3. Funny story about Havana Club 3. It is not a 3-year-old rum. It's a 5-year-old rum. In Cuba, they do not start counting the age of the rum, because rum is not legally rum until it's been in a barrel for 2 years. So they don't count it. So by any other highest standards of spirit categorization, this would be a 5-year-old rum, not a 3-year-old rum. That's how the Cubans do it.
Would that mean that a 20-year-old rum is technically a 22-year-old rum?
Depending on what the base rum is that they started with. The Havana Club 7, for example, ages in a barrel for 3 years before they start counting it as rum. So that one's a 10-year rum.
Are you saying there's no way of knowing?
There's no way of knowing. Rum has so little regulation that trying to make a definition for any rum based on the category of rum is almost impossible. So you can say Cuban rums almost always have these classifications and these designations. Rums that are from French Isles have these classifications and these rules. And everything else is kind of a free-for-all. And then there's cachaça, which is rum, but we refuse to call it rum because in North America we call it cachaça, and it's a Brazilian rum. We just pretend that it's a brandy.
That's for caffeine.
Yes, exactly.
So we mentioned the pre-mixed cocktails. We're seeing more and more pre-mixed cocktails available at the local liquor store or bottle shop. And I mean, the beauty of them is you're not having to do the work. So that's what we were just talking about, the craft and the excitement about being able to take care and pride in working with the ingredients and creating and crafting the perfect cocktail. But it's not always convenient, especially if you're, traveling. I talk a lot about going on dance trips. Or if you've got, kids, you're entertaining a large group, it's harder to do multiple crafted, beautiful cocktails in a row. So we're seeing more and more pre-mixed canned or bottled cocktails. They've been certainly like a lifesaver in this mom's world. I haven't tried this one yet, but I'm going to try it later today.
It's good.
But I love the...
It's what you would expect.
Is it the crazy uncle stuff, like where you get the hard root beers and the hard?
You know what?
Like
the first time I ever tried hard root beers, it was 34 degrees on a beach in Florida. And it was a good friend of mine, and we bought a 6-pack, and we stopped at the grocery store to get some drinks to pack the cooler and watermelon and all that stuff. But one of the things that I picked up was a 6-pack of the hard root beer. And I had 4 of them in a row in the hot sun, and I'll tell you that much sugar
headache.
in the hot sun. Yeah, it wasn't comfortable. So I mean, I don't know. I tend to shy away from those more towards these. I like the Clamato ones.
I love the Clamato Caesars. Yeah, and every year they come out with like a seasonal one. A few years ago it was bacon. Then 2 years ago it was the pickled bean. They came out with they did baked beans.
They still have pickled bean.
They did. So it was the bacon one the one year, then it was the baked beans the next year, and this past year was the pickled beans. And they're seasonal, but it's just again that spin on things that people are putting into their Caesars now. So for those who may not be in Canada and understand what a Caesar is, it pretty much is the national cocktail of Canada. You don't really find it anywhere else. But it's basically Clamato juice, which is clam and tomato juice, which sounds like the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. But you pair it with vodka, a little bit of Tabasco and Worcestershire, and top it with celery salt, and it is literally like a national drink.
Like yeah.
I remember when I lived in Australia, that was the one drink that I really craved that I definitely couldn't get there. Right? But we had a gourmet shop down the street, and they sold the 2-liter bottles of Clamato for $25. So I tell you, I would buy one. I'd have like 2 Caesars. They were the best Caesars I ever had, and probably the most expensive ones as well.
How big were these Caesars? That's a massive jug.
Well, no, I didn't drink it all.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't drink it all. Nice. I don't like clam tomato juice that much, but because it's not something you get anywhere else. In the States, like a Bloody Mary is the comparison, because in the States it's made with a tomato juice.
Yes.
So verdict on the pre-mixed, you're saying yes to them as long as they're not the overly sweet ones. But I think you'll also find that the overly sweet ones are also drank by people who prefer the overly sweet cocktails.
Yeah, it's just not my style. I mean, I appreciate it, and it's making drinking fun by making it into pop.
Making it easy, yep.
You know, I get it, and it appeals to a younger crowd, and well, no, but then there's stuff like, I mean, you know, it started off there was like
all the
wine coolers, then Mike's Hard.
Remember the Wildberry coolers way back in the day? I had those the other day.
Remember the Jungle Juice? Remember you could buy the 2 liters of it?
Yep.
I used to buy those 2 liters when I was...
It's like gateway drug into drinking, right?
Yeah. Yes, when you're younger, you know. It's just, I guess I'm just at this level where I like something cool and crisp, not too sugary. You know, and in the summers is when I enjoy them. The gray in your beard is showing. I'm just kidding. No, it's all good. No, and like for me, I think it's convenience as well too. Like if I'm just at home by myself and I want to drink, I'll craft a nice cocktail or whatever. But if we're, like I said, hitting the road for traveling and we want something to bring to the camp or to have in the hotel after a long day, then they're perfect. You just grab and do the thing. Yeah. But it's like anything else. I mean, you've got to try different ones. Like there's 4 different root beers on the market right now. At least. Yeah, and so it's like there's a Hires, there's an A&W, there's a Mike's has a root beer now. My favorite is still the Crazy Uncle ones. Right. But the Crazy Uncle had, a couple of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, they had a lime one that was out that was fantastic, but you could only get it by the jug. It was like the old-fashioned jugs. Yeah. So that was amazing. And then a couple of years ago, they had a chai spice. It was like a pumpkin spice with tea. I didn't know that. Yeah, and it was whiskey. So it was whiskey and chai, which was a cocktail I also almost brought today, which would be chai tea with a shot of whiskey. I would try that. But you have it hot. I didn't really want to have to deal with hot here in the studio today. But that was another one. So Crazy Uncle, I find that they love how they kind of combine spices and fruit in an interesting way to create drinks. But the root beer has been around for a couple of years now, and it's just an easy drink. Yeah, it is. In moderation. Your gin and soda drinkers, your gin and tonic drinkers, there's a whole line of gin ones out as well too. Okay. The gin smashes, that's what they're gin smashes. They're good. Okay. So yeah, that's our spiel on our canned cocktails. What else do I want to talk about today? Oh, cocktails around the world. Cocktails around the world. When you travel and you're looking at cocktails, what do you see? Mojitos. Mm-hmm. Fresh mint. Mm-hmm. Like fresh stuff like that. I love it. Me too. That's when you're on the beach and by the pool and. Yeah. I think mojitos, hands down, is the first one I thought of, first one that popped in my head, and there's a good reason for that. I built mojitos. But again, there's an art to a good mojito, right? Yeah. Because I've been to places where they bring me a mojito and it's green. And I'm like, why is this green? They've used lime bar mix. No, that's not right. Which is not right at all. Because your classic mojito is your soda. Yes. Your simple syrup, not raw sugar. Mint and rum and lime. Fresh lime. So that's another one. I might top a little bit of lime bitters in as well when I'm making it. One thing I do really like that's found in Israel/Palestine is, and you see this like when I have memories of all my uncles in their, be properly correct about it, undergarments. It's like the white tank tops. I know where you're going. Those really thin white tank tops. They're all playing poker arms. And they're smoking, and they're all drinking the same drink. It's called arak. Is ARAK. You can find it at the select LCBOs. It's 50% alcohol, right off the bat, and it's very similar to ouzo, but it's got a sharper taste. Oh, yeah. You serve it to get fancy with it. You can serve it with a slice of cold fennel in it, but it's just a couple ice cubes, 2 ounces of that, and then you fill about 4 ounces of water, and it clouds up to this white cloudy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and
it's
then you
scary.
sip it, so it's chilled anise sipping.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it is good. So that's my second all around the world cocktail. What about yours?
So for me, I think you're right. I think something like a mojito is almost I don't want to say generic because it isn't, because they can be screwed up a lot, and I've had a lot of screwed up ones around as well. But I find that when you're thinking cocktails, you'll often see a mojito and a margarita on a menu. And the beauty of them is that they're made with pretty easy to source ingredients. The challenge is having them done right. And I mean, to do it right, you need a muddler to really kind of blend the sugars with the mint and the lime to get it to really bring all the flavors and the oils out of things. But my challenge was when I went across, especially when I was living in Australia for a few years, cocktails were not a thing there. But if you had a cocktail, hear me out. They had them, but they were not, it'd be like, the back of the menu, they'd have like 5 cocktails. But if you had a cocktail, it was like herb infused with freshly muddled or squeezed juices, and to the point where I was paying $17 a cocktail.
Okay.
When I was over there. So that was actually when
Sounds like New York City.
When I had to teach myself how to drink wine, basically, was when I lived over there, because I just plain couldn't afford to drink, because it was like, what was that?
New York City. I have a third cocktail.
Like, where did that come from? Can I finish?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
That was the big challenge there, was that they were like $17 to $20 a drink for a 1 or 2 ounce drink. So fantastic cocktails, but I definitely had to pace myself. And that's when I started drinking wine, because it was like, $8 for a glass of wine or $20 for a cocktail. So New York cocktail, go.
Right. Maze, Gordon Ramsay's restaurant is casual fine dining restaurant. I got a tour of the cellar. I got a tour of the kitchen. It was an amazing experience. With my appetizer, I ordered a drink that involved, say, 1.5 ounces of elderflower liqueur, about 3 ounces prosecco, and crushed goji berries. That's it.
Yeah.
Incredible, and it blew my mind.
I have done prosecco and elderflower before with various kind of other herbs and stuff, but not with goji berries.
Yeah, dynamite.
I feel like we have to do a whole other class with just like our other session with just a bunch of like ingredients.
I named 3.
You got another one?
No. I just named 3. That's the standard, and I met the quota.
We're going to be pouring Ungava this evening as our gin. Ungava is a really, really fun gin. It's made in the north of Quebec. So it is as local as we can provide without going into our local micro distillery, which is wonderful, which is Crosscut. And I'm sure we'll be doing something with them later.
Hey, they're bottling a new gin today. Maybe
that's right there. It's the green one. And then let's see, what are we going with for our rise? Oh, yes. Goodham Worts out of Toronto. Goodham Worts is fantastic. Goodham Worts was created to attempt to replicate the spirit of Canadian whiskey during Prohibition. So while the whiskey that was produced during Prohibition was not actually aged whiskey, the master blender of the company said, this is probably the closest thing we can get to the spirit of that while still maintaining the standards of contemporary whiskey. So very, very cool product. Very mellow. Tastes more like the barrel than it does the rye. Some ryes are very, very spice forward, and that's the rye that you're tasting. So like Lot 40. Lot 40 here, when you taste it, it's got spice, it's got heat, it's got a lot of different flavors that come directly from the rye itself. Whereas Goodham Worts, most of the flavors that you'll be enjoying come from the barrel.
So it would be like vanilla.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So those are the spirits we're working with tonight. We're also going to be using a simple syrup, which is just a sugar syrup made of equal parts sugar and hot water. You can stir or blend that to your heart's content until it turns clear, so once it's not cloudy. Pro tip, throw a pinch of salt in there as well. Brightens the flavors and reduces any chance of bitterness that you might get from overcooking the sugar, which is a common problem. I don't actually even cook my simple syrup anymore. I just use warm water and stir it longer. which
you
is
don't have to worry about overcooking.
you don't have to worry about overcooking it, and you don't have to worry about adding salt to it. And in today's world, adding anything to anything that's supposed to be simple gets you into trouble.
Yeah.
So you said the mojito.
Mojito first, arak second, and then the third is the elderflower with the prosecco and the crushed goji berries.
Oh, if I had to rank them, my mojito's right up there because I do love a really good mojito. Probably like a mimosa Bellini because I do love a champagne-based cocktail. And this is basically, I think this was called like a pumpkin spice mojito, pumpkin spice mimosa.
Okay.
My third one would probably be a Caesar. Cool. It's like a go-to, right? It's local. Like local. It's what we were raised on, so to speak. And yeah, and it's uniquely Canadian. And there are variations on the Caesar and the same kind of thing. But it's really hard to screw up a Caesar. There's
a new place I just saw on Facebook. There's an article on a place in Toronto called 1893, I believe. And it's a Caesar bar. That's all they do.
Oh. Yeah. In the Chelsea Hotel, it's called This Week.
I just stayed there last week.
They make their own Caesar mix. It's incredible, dude. You buy it by like the mason jar.
Oh, Gerard, 33 Gerard.
Yeah. Huh. In their bar there, I think that's where you're talking about. It's in there, and they've got incredible Caesars because they make everything from scratch.
Interesting.
So next time you go back to the Chelsea.
Jeez, I love that hotel.
I love the Chelsea.
It's a great hotel.
Yeah. My biggest complaint about the Chelsea is it's too busy. It's so crazy.
Well, can you blame them?
It's a great hotel.
Make sure you insist on a balcony room.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they have them.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
they have them.
It's great for families. They've got the kids check-in, so if you were to go with the boys,
they have their own little staircase with the different colors.
It's like I said to Caleb the last time we stayed. I'm like, "You want to go up the staircase?" He's like, "Mom, I'm 15."
There's a staircase going up to the counter so that kids can check in. There's a big gong.
Yeah. Right. So when they're done, they can bang the gong.
High five! That's awesome.
We stay there a lot. It's actually also a destination for the Toronto General Hospital. They've got all the hospitals have rates there, so we've stayed there quite a bit.
That's right there. It's right across the street from Ryerson University.
Yeah,
and Zanzibar.
We you've been there. You checked it out.
I just see it from the balcony.
There's also Red's Wine is directly across the street as well too, and like we could just go across. There's a pasta place there. Anyways,
it's a really good East Indian place called Buffet Palace. Right across the street. Yeah, it's something like $16.99, and they've got oxtail, they've got all the curries you can want. They have butter chicken, they have korma. They didn't have vindaloo. That's fine. I could deal with it.
I was gonna say actually the butter chicken
samosas
at the Chelsea is probably one of the best butter chickens I've had in Canada.
I had breakfast at the Chelsea. I wasn't impressed.
No, the breakfast is like $100 now, right? It's like $35 or $39 a person, and it's crap. But the bar, so you've got the restaurant on the one side, then you've got the bar on it's not, the Gerard side is this way.
Right.
It's the other side. It's where the actual parking, where you come into the underground parking.
Yeah, right
there. The bar right there.
Huh.
That there. So that's where they have their Caesars made with their own independent, like they make their own clamato, they make everything.
Okay.
And their butter chicken. Well, I mean, I like their butter chicken, so I mean, I haven't been to the Middle East, so... So we'll have to temper that. Although I am returning to Australia, so you're going to get some Australian content shortly. I'm going to Australia in 3 weeks, and I'm so freaking excited. I can't even tell you. And I'm returning to our favorite restaurant there was this Middle Eastern restaurant. It was an Indian restaurant called Halim's. Okay. And it was literally that restaurant where you had like the little, we call them nonas in Italian, the little nona behind watching on our transistor TV. Right. As the family was cooking and the kids were running around. You probably don't want to go in the kitchen because that curry's probably been on the stove for the last 2 weeks. But, I'm exaggerating, past few days. But the best curries I have ever had, and I haven't had curries in the Middle East, I've had them in England, which curries are huge in England as well too. Yeah, cool. And by far the best curry I've ever had. And Halim himself used to be the caterer for the Indian cricket team. So he's kind of earned his chops and now has this little restaurant and tiny little hole in the wall with the whole family in Brisbane and Worsley area. So beautiful. I'll be sharing some stuff in that. If I had to pick like a favorite meal worldwide, it would probably be that. Okay. Cocktails. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, and so the other thing too about cocktails, when I think about like the all-inclusive places, It's like a different thing.
No, I had a 3.5 star in Cuba in Veradero, and I had incredible mojitos done right with the mortar and pestle and everything.
Oh God! See, and I went to where did I go? In April, I went to the Dominican.
Okay.
And every pretty much cocktail they had were based out of slushy machines.
Yeah, you've seen some of that too in Cuba.
I don't want the slushy machines. I want a real cocktail. I mean, they were good. They tasted all right.
Done right. But they did have that at the hotel I was at as well. But I know what you're talking
believe it or not, Vegas.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the name of the hotel. We went to a lot of hotels. Vegas, I mean, you go to Vegas, you're up 24 hours a day and you're drinking the entire time. Right. So it's it all blurs together after a while. But they literally served us a bucket of strawberry mojitos. So they took a bucket, they dumped in fresh strawberries, fresh mint. They threw in like a can of strawberry soda. I still don't know what the soda was. Okay. And then they topped it up with...
Faygo Red Pop. It was probably Faygo Red Pop.
I don't know. It said strawberry on it. So I don't know. Anyways, whatever it was. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And they topped it up with club soda and dumped in like a whole... Like we'd see our package for $5 to get at the grocery store. The whole package of mint. Muddle it all up. And give it to you. And it was like the best strawberry mojitos I've ever had. It was like a bucket of mojitos. And it was like $10 for the bucket. And they had rum in it too, by the way.
And then you went and gambled how much?
Oh, we didn't, because we just stayed by the pool drinking buckets of mojitos all day.
Yes, you played it smart.
We did.
You played it smart.
Yeah, so it's one thing that's cool about cocktails when you're entertaining as well too. I should probably put out there is that they're great for a crowd to make up like a batch ahead of time. So, like, I've got these big beverage servers, but I've seen them done in buckets, quite frankly. I've seen them done in...
I've never seen it done that way.
Really?
Yeah, it's always been per drink.
No. We do up... You need to come to a party at my house.
You need to invite me. Again. No. Again, because you invited me a couple times, and I loved it. Yeah.
So, but what we've done is we've done like a big beverage server, and you basically dump in you still do your same ratios that you would for a regular cocktail. You just make it on a bigger scale. But I will caution that you should probably choose a cocktail you like, because if you have leftovers, you're not going to want to dump it. So you throw it in the fridge. You can enjoy it over the next kind of week. Moving on.
Right.
But we've done it with Caesars. We've done it with like a lemonade and gin type cocktail. We've done it with mojitos. We've done it with margaritas.
I've made my own jungle juice before.
Oh, jungle juice.
Yeah, I've done also
You're
like an electric...
You're going to need to share a recipe for jungle juice, because people are going to be like, what on earth is
jungle
juice?
It's easy. You cut up a whole bunch of fruit. Pineapple and then oranges, and you throw in chopped strawberries if you want to change it up. And then you pour in rum, 26 or it depends how big your... thing is
little or big 26er,
and then you pour in like orange juice or stuff to fill it up, and then when the party's over and everyone's done, you eat all the fruit,
right?
Yeah,
we've done something similar where we had it's like, you eat the fruit for breakfast.
Yeah, Harry the dog.
We've done orange juice and like pineapple juice and cranberry juice, and then dumped in the rum and then all the fruit, so it's a similar thing.
Jungle juice, that's all there is to it. Right?
It's simple.
Simple and fresh, yeah.
That's the other thing about cocktails as well, too. I mean, they can be, we've been talking a lot about craft cocktails and some, getting into really ornate kind of preparations of ingredients. But the reality is a cocktail is an alcohol, a liquid, and something fancy to throw in it, whether it's a fruit, an herb, or something along those lines. So I would say my challenge out there to people is to like get creative and try something different. That's what we've done in our home, and we've had things that have worked really, really well, and we've had things that really haven't worked as well at all either. But that's part of the joy and part of the fun of it is just experimenting and trying things with recipes. So if you have a cocktail or a recipe that works for you, share it with us either on our social media or reply back to some of our posts that we've got on there, and we'd love to hear what your favorite cocktails are too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited for the class. We can't stick around very much longer because we're going to have students coming any minute. But this is going to be the first of many classes here at the Alibi Room. So if you're in the Sudbury area, make sure that you follow us along on the Flying for Flavor podcast, as well as the Legacy Service Academy page. I'll have a link in the show notes, as well as the link in the show notes to the Alibi Room in case you want to come and check them out. I hear there's live music after the class tonight too.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. So listen to us on all the podcast players. That includes iTunes, whatever. And of course, we're now on YouTube. So make sure you follow us there as well. Until next week, if I had a drink, I'd say cheers.
#find your alibi.